morning, everyone. Welcome to the Yuma County Board of Supervisors regular meeting. This is the meeting of June 6th, 2022. It's 9 a.m. This is the call to order. Members can attend and will attend, sometimes by phone, sometimes in person. We do have a notice that Mr. Porches, Supervisor Porches, may join us by phone when he calls in. He called earlier to say he's having trouble making the meeting, so he may call in at any time after that. Okay, I'm going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Supervisor Lyons. Supervisor?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And the first item in the agenda is actually called to the public. Call to the public is held for the public's benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion or decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. I did see some emails. They came in a little after 8, I think, but it's fine.
Yes, we do have several emails this morning. The first is from Lawrence Emblem, and the subject is air pollution in the North Foothills. He says he lives in the North Foothills subdivision, and he is emailing a request for assistance in dealing with remedying the tenants leasing the sand and gravel pit on 14.5E, just north of Interstate 8 and North Frontage Road. The plant is at various times mixing asphalt and spewing an immense amount of pollution into the air. He asks a couple questions as far as whether the plant is zoned, permitted, and if inspections are up to date.
Okay.
And the second was from Bill Painter regarding Foothills Sand and Gravel. He speaks about being disappointed that the situation with the Foothills Sand and Gravel, which is being run by Fan Contracting, he believes, has gone on for over 8 months with no resolution. The dust and burning oil pollution generated by the plant is without a doubt a health hazard for residents of the North Foothills and ravines on the south. He says he lives approximately 900 feet from the gravel pit and has some neighbors who live even closer. And with the south winds of the summer, the pollution created blows into his neighborhood and is a health risk.
Yeah. Right. Is that it? All right. Both of them have to do with an issue that we probably put in front of not planning zoning, but the Development Service Director. It's obviously a matter that we can't discuss, not on the agenda, but we take those comments as important. So we'll pass them on to the proper authorities. I suppose I say the proper authorities are us, but I mean to go through the process. I do have somebody tried to put something in here, then put in a sort of an interrogation mark. Shirley Lenz? Shirley. Oh, come in, Shirley. I do write like you do. I don't understand myself.
Okay. I know my writing is.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't read it
you're like a
myself.
doctor without, the diploma. Come on.
Okay, well, I brought a few of my friends with too. We all have the same issue. And I have so much here, I want to read it so I don't forget anything. Okay. Well, we have an ongoing nuisance problem in the foothills. The quarry in operation is causing major sinus problems for many and making the air quality unacceptable. This business operates 24 hours a day with plenty of noise interfering with people's quiet time and sleep. The dust is supposed to be kept at a minimum, but how and who can make this happen when the equipment stirs up the dust every time a bucket hits the dirt? Many trucks are also continually using this road to haul the product. The fact explosives are used on a regular basis to loosen the rock bed is also disturbing. Damage is being gradually done each time this is used to all the pipes underground. I believe this will eventually cause major damage to our water and sewer lines. When the water trucks soak the road, it temporarily keeps the dust down, but no one seems to realize this causes a cement-like buildup on the undercarriage of vehicles that a car wash does not remove. Also, there is an asphalt facility in operation. Rumor has that it's been sold and will be a permanent fixture in our neighborhood. No one wants this. There is a major concern of the spewing of toxic black smoke. Before this new company takes over, modern up-to-date equipment needs to be installed to ensure the air quality is not affecting everyone's health. This new plant will be a threat to our air quality from day one of operation. The fact farmers burn piles of discarded trees full of pesticides is alarming enough. Why aren't they using a wood chipper to take care of this instead of filling our air with poisonous fumes? Please address these concerns and keep everyone in our community healthy. I am positive people with asthma and COPD definitely would appreciate a reform to these practices.
Thank you, Shirley.
Oh.
And the first thing we'll do is we'll do a little bit of research to find out exactly what the situation is with zoning and permits and everything else. And
Okay.
sometimes I think that we as a county government sometimes have some authority over some of these operations, but as we found out, our authority is limited. Some of this permitting is not done locally, it's done by state agency, but we'll find out.
Right, and when a lot of people don't even pay attention. But if you don't speak up, it never gets addressed, so that's why I'm here,
Thank
okay?
you, Shirley.
Thank you.
And the next one, I know this name, Gail Castriconi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Gail Castricone. I reside at 3788 West 18th Place. I am the neighborhood advocate for the Avenue B and C Colonia. I want to start out by saying thank you to the county staff that participated in the B and C Community Forum. The overall conclusion that we came to after hearing the speakers is that things have continued to decline in the Colonia. Since 2006, when we first started to actively address the concerns of our neighborhood with the county, instead of things getting better, they have progressively gotten worse. What we have found is that the slumlords have been given a free pass to rent out inferior, unsafe housing to unvetted people who deal in drugs, gangs, and intimidation to the public. All we want as a community is for the codes that you have written to be enforced in a timely manner. Our best example is the band trailer park on 5th Street in Vaughan. The trailers have no skirting, broken windows, there is trash throughout the entire park, drug trafficking, and prostitution. In 2021, Pat Hennington tagged 28 trailers uninhabitable. In 2022, there was a fire in the park that burnt down a trailer to the ground and 2 vehicles. A shooting took place and a man was killed with multiple gunshot wounds. Last week, there was Border Patrol vehicle and a helicopter scanning the area by the band trailer park and over the field by our family home. Our question is, did they find who they were looking for? The only positive thing about that was I really loved the helicopter. It was so cool. We are living in a time like no others. Oh, I have an article to read. This is an article that was written in 2006 from the county. It was Mary White had presented this. It's a program to reduce mobile home park crime. For the past few years, Yuma County officials have become aware of escalating crime in some mobile home parks, and they want to do something about it. The sheriff's office has been concerned about some mobile homes in the county, so the county attorney's office, the sheriff, and the development services have looked at ways to reduce future crime, said Mary White, coordinator of the Yuma County Attorney's Office's Community Justice Program. And as we know, that was 16 years ago, and we are still battling the same problem. We're living in a time like no other. Morals and values about what is right and wrong are steadily fading away. The United States is in a time of crisis. There is lawlessness that continues to escalate day by day. Our committee will continue to have meetings on the first Tuesday of every month. During that time, we will work on strategies that will be effective to help make our community safe. And I leave you with this as I close. This is the fruits of the Spirit found in the Bible. It is love, it is joy, it is peace, it is patience, it is kindness, it is goodness, it is faithfulness, it is gentleness, and self-control. Also remember to love one another as Christ has loved you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Gail.
Right. If that was a call to action, I'm sure it was heard. Both, some of these are law enforcement issues. Some of them are more having a program and dedicating a program to that effect. So we'll look at that without getting into too much discussion, because I know the attorneys look at you sideways. Thank you very much again, Gail. Is there anybody else in the public that didn't get their card up front here, or that needs to address the board? Now, I will leave the open to the public throughout the meeting, so in case someone gets in here a little late or something, we'll have a chance to still deal with it. The next item in the agenda is presentations.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to note for the people who are concerned about the sand and gravel plant location, we do have Craig Sellers, our DDS director, and George Amaya is the deputy director. It's the people right here on the last row. And if you want to talk with him as you leave, they'll be happy to talk with you about that.
It's called immediate attention to an issue. Somehow or other, I think you knew. Well, anyway, let's go on with our other items. And the first item that we need to get into before the consent calendar is the proclamations, presentations, and appointments. And in there, we just have a presentation. It's the presentation of the Yuma County line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Chat.
New technology helps the Sheriff's Office reduce investigation times. Local law enforcement carried the torch to help fund the Special Olympics. And with temperatures on the rise, we can tell you where you can find a place to cool off. These stories and more, this is your County Line. The Yuma County Sheriff's Office joins the Arizona Rapid DNA Law Enforcement Program, allowing quicker information to be used in local investigation cases. The Sheriff's Office is the first agency in Arizona to use one of the 4 Rapid Hit ID instruments purchased with legislative funding to expand the Rapid DNA Law Enforcement Program.
Rather than having to send something into the crime lab and wait for results for an investigative lead, it's going to allow trained operators to run cases out here on a rapid DNA instrument that takes about 2 hours. And within that 2-hour time frame, they have the potential of developing those investigative leads so that they can go ahead and complete their investigation.
In the past, investigators were used to waiting several weeks to several months for test results. Now, with a simple cheek swab or evidence sample, the Rapid Hit ID instrument can generate forensic DNA profiles in as little as 90 minutes. This rapid DNA technology has the potential to immediately impact an investigation by significantly reducing the time it takes to identify or eliminate a potential suspect. Recently, our probation officers and sheriff's deputies hit the streets in a different way to support some very special athletes. Officers from Yuma County Adult Probation and deputies from the Sheriff's Office joined dozens of law enforcement from throughout Yuma County for the 2022 Law Enforcement Torch Run. Over 100 runners helped carry the flame of hope throughout Yuma County, raising awareness for the Special Olympic Games.
It really brings us not only together as an organization, but it also brings us together with our law enforcement peers in the community for what a fantastic cause.
These torch runs help to raise much-needed funds for the Special Olympics. 6 flames are carried from different parts of Arizona and end up in Phoenix. Have you noticed our temperatures creeping up? It won't be long before we hit 110 degrees and hotter, and that's why cooling centers have been opened in the Yuma area. Governor Ducey declared May 23rd through the 27th as Heat Awareness Week. To help out, Yuma County Public Health Services District have teamed up to work with local organizations to open cooling centers in Yuma County. These centers will provide free water and cool areas for our community. It's important to take precautions when heading out for extended periods. You may want to reschedule strenuous activities to early morning or evening. Wear lightweight, loose-fitting clothing, and of course, drink plenty of water. If you'd like to know exactly where a cooling center is, just log on to yumacountyaz.gov. You can search on the site or just find the information under the Health section.
Hi, I'm Mary, and this is your Health Watch. Summer is here, and what better way to cool off than in the water? Pools, rivers, and lakes are all popular choices here in Yuma. However, they can also be very dangerous if we're not careful. Here are some tips to make sure you stay safe while having fun in the sun. The letter A stands for Active Adult Supervision. Always keep constant visual supervision for all children and be within arm's reach of infants and toddlers. Designate a water watcher who is in charge of watching the children while in or near water. Next up is the letter B, which stands for barriers. Make sure the pool is separated from other play areas of the home by having the pool surrounded by a four-sided fence, a self-closing, self-latching gate, and door alarms on any door that opens to a body of water. The final letter is C. C stands for classes, CPR, and first aid classes. Swimming lessons and water safety classes help to make sure everyone knows what to do in an emergency and increases the chances of survival. Congratulations! You now know your ABCs of water safety. For more information on water safety for open water, please visit www.safekids.org. That is all for now. Stay healthy, Yuma.
We'd like to send a shout out to our Adult Probation's Drug Court Program and Juvenile Justice Center's Aztec High School for two very important graduation ceremonies. Recently, our Adult Probation Department held their 90th Drug Court graduation ceremony. 8 students were recognized for completion of the program. The program hit a major milestone with these graduates, 1,000 graduates. Also, our Juvenile Justice Center's Aztec High School had their graduation ceremony for their 2022 graduating class. 8 students received their high school diplomas and are ready to begin their bright futures. Congratulations to the Drug Court Program and Aztec High School graduates. Before we head out, we'd like to say farewell to County Administrator Susan Thorpe. Susan Thorpe recently announced her retirement, concluding more than 6 years with Yuma County and 38 years of public service. She began serving in Yuma County in February of 2016, and her last day will be June 6th. Congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for your years of service and achievements during your tenure. Thank you for joining us for this County Line. We'd like to know of any story ideas you may have, so let us know. And if you're looking for stories we've covered in the past, log on to our website at yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. We'll see you on the next County Line.
All right, that takes care of presentations. And it allows us to move on from the presentation and appointments item into the consent calendar, where the following items are listed under the consent agenda and will be considered as a group or acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Does anybody want to move any items up or out?
5.
5. All right. Is anything else? I'll take 6 for a minute, just to ask a couple of questions. 5 and 6. Any other items? If not, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent listed items from 1 to 18, with the exception of 5 and 6.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then motion and second to approve consent items 1 through 16. Did I say 16? Yeah, through 18, excuse me. Through 18, with the exception of 5 and 6. There's no discussion on these items. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Opening up item number 5. Supervisor Lyons wanted to discuss this item. The item is a discussion on approving fee proposal for Kitchell CEM and authorize the construction project director to enter into a contract for Kitchell for project management, owner's representative services for design and pre-construction phase in the amount of $415,300 for the new county administration building to be located at 187 Main Street.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Dave Hillen, construction project director. Happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Lyons, your questions?
Yeah, just wanted to see why we were going outside and not doing something inside the county or having our own person. We could hire somebody for a lot less.
Basically, the size of the project requires a team approach, if you will, to manage a project of this size and scope. A firm such as Kitchell, you might recall, or back in August of last year, the board authorized the procurement of Arcadis to perform this service with the county. They felt like their staffing requirements didn't really line up with what our legal team was looking for. So we developed another RFP to procure additional project management services, and ultimately we're able to procure Kitchell.
I have a reservation just because we're hiring one contractor to manage another contractor.
Performing, Chairman Reyes and Supervisor Lyons, performing project management services does not involve any direct direction of the construction activity. It's more of an administrative management function. So their primary duties include things such as developing the overall project schedule with all the various milestones and so forth, coordinating the efforts of the design team in conjunction. This being a construction manager at risk delivery method really requires close interaction between the construction manager, which we hope to bring to the board on the June 20th board meeting, along with the owner and the design team, BWS Architects and their engineers.
Isn't that why we pay the contractor though? To work with the architect to develop the schedules?
Yes.
Not going to be difficult. It just seems like an unnecessary expense because we're already paying an architect to establish the construction methodology. And as a contractor, it just gets a little bit frustrating when you've got that third party there. When you're not dealing directly with the contractor, you're not dealing directly with the architect.
Chairman Reyes and Supervisor Lyons, the project management function is really sort of an extension of the county itself. So again, you're looking at this project delivery approach where you have the three elements. You have the contractor, you have the design team, and then you have the owner, Yuma County. And then you have, in this case, hopefully Kitchell working alongside of the county as an owner's representative in project management to establish that third leg, if you will. We do have project director Kevin Vandermolen here with Kitchell here if you would like to ask any questions directly.
No, I'm just concerned about that.
This is a line item in the overall project budget. Again, we're really just looking to replace Arcadis with
I think we
Kitchell.
went through this before. It's a $36 million project so far. And even though I trust some of the county staffers to know a lot about this, they really have no experience doing this over and over again. We talked about this initially. I was concerned about the total cost, but I've been concerned about the total cost for the last 10 years, and it hasn't gone any lower. I happen to believe every time we take one of the steps, we just add more time to it. But I've seen $30 million projects happen in the county before, the Justice Court, and I've seen that sometimes county staff just doesn't have the day-to-day knowledge that you need to actually be able to see something happening before it happens. So an extra set of eyes, although it seems like a lot, it is a lot, $400,000. When a project this size goes haywire, the cost is immensely larger, and the time frame involved in resolving something once it's already done, it's a lot higher than it would be to have a set of eyes for people who does this for a living, be our middleman, be the person that's keeping an eye on it and advising staff and what's going on. I tend to agree that as an owner, most of the time we like to think that someone in staff knows enough to be able to manage this, but I do realize these are projects that are not common. They're not normal everyday stuff. Even with established engineers such as Frank, I mean there's still things in there that he won't be able to pick up that are happening at the time they're happening. And the architect, although he's hired by us, it's also working in conjunction with the contract to try to get something done. So when it comes to purchase orders or changes, contingencies, it's really difficult to argue with people that know more than you do. Particularly in this case, we're talking about major projects. We're talking about a project that now is more expensive than the court, justice court. So although I also balk at it, I balk at the time it's taking, but the process had already been done. We have already chosen and hired someone to do this. This is a replacement person. So I know it hurts, especially when you look at it.
I know,
in
but we're
terms of-
paying a general contractor, we're paying an architect to do this job already, and that just seemed like an added layer.
Well, I tell you what, in a project this size, I'd like to have someone that represents us, that it's got more experience than we do, and we haven't done them that much. So I balk at the price, but what's the difference between the amount of money that we used to hire the initial?
It's almost equal. It's very close.
So we had already approved this. It just, the person that company that we hired wasn't ready to do it. They weren't probably large enough.
They chose to step
They
back.
chose to
correct.
step back, and now we have to replace them. So.
And if I may too, there are a number of benefits that come with hiring a firm such as Kitchell. Obviously, they've large firm, very experienced, and projects this size and much larger. But we're really getting a full team. They'll be providing things like independent cost estimating and various other things. They'll help us. You mentioned the $36 million project budget, within which the contractor will be managing roughly $27 million of that for the construction of the building. The remainder of that is a number of projects within the overall project that we need to manage on our side, owner-provided services. So Kitchell will be assisting with the procurement of things, whether it's designing a security system or designing an audiovisual system for the auditorium, things of that nature.
Mr. Chairman, how can you be assured that there's not going to have any discrepancies or disagreements between hiring a general contractor to manage another general contractor?
The general contractor, the construction manager at risk, will take direction from the county. So the Kitchell will be assisting the county in providing that direction.
I don't see it as our representative working with the contractor. I see our representatives representing the county's interest with the contractor. Sort of like a middleman that knows a little more than we do, a lot more than we do, in how things should go. It's a little risky for me to believe that we can handle it in-house, really. I mean, those are huge projects that need some outside. You know, we discussed this earlier. I keep agreeing with what Mr. Lyons is saying, because it's just our tendency to look at contracts and look at them, you know, in trying to find ways to make them happen for less amount. But I've been through some projects out there that, I mean, I tell you, if we hadn't had someone looking at them, it would have gotten much worse. So I tend to believe that it's better to prevent than to try to fix something once it's already happened. And that I don't believe personally that, not to say that the county doesn't have people with the knowledge. It's just that people with the knowledge are working on 3 or 4 different projects at the same time. And we need someone to be working on this project all the time, looking at it, especially because if, like I said, if something goes wrong, we may not be able to see it until it's a little bit too late to fix. And in a project this size, any contingency, it's huge. So I tend to agree that we're spending a lot of money on projects, but
I just think it's redundant, because you're paying an architect and you're paying a contractor to do their job.
well, sometimes the architect and the contractor don't do exactly what you tell them to.
If I might add, because of the magnitude of this project and the ones that are following on this project with administration and then followed by health and some other major facilities, the county attorney's office recommended that we hire a specialty firm in order to prevent any litigation and make sure that we're following every best practice to make sure that the project comes in successfully. And part of the recommendation from that specialty attorney is to hire an owner's representative, which is the project manager, the construction manager that you're seeing today, as well as the architect and the CMAR, this construction manager at risk. So those are recommendations to prevent litigation, to make sure that the county's interests are represented. So that's what this firm is going to be doing on our behalf.
Yeah, thanks, David. Is that okay? That answer most of your question? Thank you very much, David. Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and proceed as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Words are taken well. I mean, I understand what you're coming from. So all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Those are painful ayes. But thank you very much. We'll move on.
A lot of money.
All right, the next item for discussion, wait a minute, no, there was six.
Yeah,
Sorry, there was six. Yeah, I wanted to, well, okay, the item number 6 is to appoint Ian, it's gonna take some time before I get used to your last name again, but Ian, to appoint Ian as the interim county administrator effective at 5 p.m. on June 6, 2022, as grade 173, step 1, 7.29 of the county's pay plan. Now, we do have an item number 4, that will actually, is a recommendation to appoint him as county administrator and negotiate his salary. Is there a particular disconnect here? You're just trying to make sure that in the interim, he will be paid? Kim? Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Is that okay? I mean, you could have negotiated to get paid from the moment you stepped in. But if that's what you like it, I'm going to be watching that. So that's all I wanted to ask. I mean, what was the need for number 6? I know the other ones are sort of appointments that get made. The new administrator, normally we appoint that. So we're kind of getting there before we get there.
Yes.
So I see that. And this I see as a sort of a bridge between the time we finally figure out how much he's going to get paid and the time he's going to have to serve as county administrator on an interim basis,
Right.
which is probably about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay. Is there
Front
any
office
other?
community service.
Yeah, well, you can put it as community service. We don't mind. Okay, so we will do that just to make him feel like, he's getting paid, in the interim as a county, as an interim county administrator. Is there any other questions about this? This wasn't even a question. It was more a chance to make a comment.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second to approve. It's a good sign for number 4. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and we will move on from the consent calendar. Thank you, Felicia. And move on to number 1 on the discussion and action items, which are items that will be open and separately for discussion and action as appropriate. The first one is discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities to include discussion of events and activities occurring in the international border that involve or affect county health and emergency management. This is getting longer and longer as I read it. Is there something about the border that triggered this? That we've been discussing things happening in the border?
Asked to be able to talk about those items, and so we had to add it to the item.
Oh, relax. It was me. Yeah, it just, once you open the door. Before we start, is there an introduction that need to be made? Has she been here before? Am I sleeping in the job or?
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is Jessica Holder. She's a new civil deputy in the county attorney's office.
Well, welcome. I thought you were just a happy spectator all this time, just laughing at everything we do, and saying, "Oh, I could do that better." Thank you very much for introducing her. I just thought I saw a new face, and
Good catch.
Okay. So anyway, back to the health problems that not problems, the health situation that we're addressing. There will be a time where you are gonna not have to come and present in front of us, and it's probably getting closer and closer. But since you're already here, and since we have this listed as an agenda item, go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. I remembered that this time.
Got an assistant there sitting and her phone like a teenager. Yeah, I got it.
So the update regarding our vaccines is that we've been patiently waiting for the vaccines for children under 5, and we expect that approval to come again. We're still waiting for the end of June. We're hopeful. The CDC has allowed us to pre-order some doses, waiting for that approval. It was a very small allocation, about 200 doses to start with. And again, that would ensure that we have those doses available once that approval comes in, and once that happens, then we'd be allowed to order some additional doses. So again, what we're looking at is the Moderna vaccine for ages 6 months to 5 years of age, and that is about 1/4 the dose of the adult vaccine. And then Pfizer for 6 months of age to 4 years. And so right now they're looking at both of them, and hopefully the approval comes at the same time. So we're hopeful that, again, by June, so those kids that are getting ready to go to kindergarten and are able to have the vaccine that their older siblings have had access to. Our positivity rate has gone up, continues to trend up again. People are traveling. I think most of us have returned to normal, especially we take it for granted we're in crowded spaces. We think, well, we've been vaccinated or breakthrough. And vaccines continue to be effective in preventing disease and hospitalization, severe disease and hospitalization. But a reminder again to kind of, use those precautions if you're in a very crowded space. So our positivity rate right now is around 16%. That was up from, we hovered around 2% in March, April, May. So it's going up a little bit. And again, it's just the longer you are from your vaccination series, that vaccine immunity begins to wane. So again, it's just using those precautions, continue to enjoy your activities, do them safely. And we are scheduled to do, yes,
Before
sir.
you move on, 2 questions about positivity rates. One, obviously, to me, it's not a question, it's more a comment. One of them is the fact that people are now going to get tested when they think they have something. In the past, people were just getting tested because they felt, okay, it's a safety measure. Some of the businesses were requiring people to get tested before they got back to work. So I understand that. But when somebody tests positive and has to go to work, what is the policy? Do we have a policy, a general policy?
Yeah, we
Health
have
policy.
we have CDC guidance that outlines all that, depending on whether you're an essential worker, the use of mask, how long it's been since your symptom onset. That's why there's not a recommendation to test to return to work, because even after you've recovered, you can actually test positive for weeks afterwards. So it's just once you have no symptoms, and we have that guidance in our website that's very specific. We encourage people that have questions to reach out. We always have dedicated staff willing to answer those questions, either if it's for you or whether it's if you're the employer and you have those questions. And again, it's just the further you are from your vaccination series. So again, if you're eligible for a booster, that's something you might want to consider. Just to make sure that you're up to date with that immunity. But again, the tool, we have seen some breakthrough infections, but again, mild symptoms, and they are incredibly effective in preventing severe illness and hospitalizations, which is really what the aim is.
That was the second question. Have we noticed any particular increase in the people that have to get treatment at the hospital? Are the doctors ready with treatment in a regular situation?
I think we're in a position where we've been dealing this for a while, that at least the physicians are more apt to know what to look for. I think people, in the beginning, a lot of people delayed treatment, and I think now people know if you're immunocompromised, please have that conversation with your provider. If you're having mild symptoms and you seem to take a turn for the worse, please reach out to your provider. There's antivirals, there's a couple of options now. We're in a better place as far as treatment options. And so again, it's one of those things where we just want to encourage people, you know yourself, and you know what a normal progression is. And there's other viruses circulating too. So we've had a lot of people that are catching regular respiratory, I say regular, but the respiratory viruses that we're used to. And so we're looking at that. And then, as you know, we're always have emerging things on the lookout that we're looking for. But again, there's the regular cold is making a comeback, the regular things. And so it's not always COVID. So take a home test. You can get them at the library for free. We've partnered with them, and so you don't have to pay. You can just go down there and request one through the service desk, and they're being awesome in helping us distribute it through all their locations in the county.
Chairman?
Yes.
How have we been looking for flu season?
So we've seen the uptick of cases. Not everybody goes. These are lab-reported cases, and it's the same thing with the positivity rate. You're just counting the people that are actually going and getting tested, which is a small subset. But we're starting to see those cases come up. Luckily, with flu and those things right now, those are mild symptoms. We're not seeing as many cases. People are still keeping on with some of the habits we picked up, but it is out there. But we haven't seen hospitalizations the way we used to, and I think a lot of it is due to the fact that we've all adapted, a little more heightened awareness of knowing to stay home when you're sick and having that kind of consideration for our fellow.
Mr. Chair, Diana, are they putting together a vaccine that we would take annually like we do a flu shot?
So there's a lot of things in the works. They're trying to develop different things. They're working on a nasal option because again, that's where you see the concentration of the virus. So being able to have something like that where it starts is an option, and they're definitely looking at different things. Again, it's still fairly new, and when you have those variants, the first iteration, the vaccines target it right on spot. You have that, and they latch onto those protein molecules. And again, with every variant, the fit's not quite as, it's like having a lid, not having it as tight. So they're anticipating that, and so we might get to that point. But I think, again, having that availability for kids and having that that option again is another tool in the toolbox.
Anything else?
No, sir.
You put a lot of stuff in here. The more, that's an overwhelming amount of stuff. Any other issues that you have coming up? We haven't got any cases of that new monkeypox away.
We don't have any confirmed cases or suspect cases here in the county. There's 25 cases confirmed cases in the United States so far. The closest being in our neighbor, I think California has 5 cases. But we haven't seen anything here yet. But we definitely, our physicians, our providers are aware. They know what to look for. It's one of those things where there's treatment. A lot of people that come across it, it's not as contagious as something like COVID. So we're fortunate in that area, but it's something now that we know what to look for. So definitely there's been a lot of outgoing communication between the providers, so they know what to look for. It's it's caused by the same virus that causes smallpox. So it's very distinctive what you're looking for. So again, we're always anticipating. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Isn't that little spot on your isn't that smallpox?
That was a smallpox vaccine, and it's not something that's normally administered now as part of your routine immunization. It was. So yeah, everybody, you remember having that little scar. Yeah. So, and there is a vaccine for that. Most people that develop it develop mild symptoms. So that's fortunate and require no treatment. People are infectious the whole time. They have the lesions until, very similar to when you have chickenpox, until they've crested over and healed over. But again, most people require no treatment. If you do, there is an antiviral available for that. So again, I think everybody now is on standby and they're ready should they see that.
All right. Okay, any other questions? No? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Gomez. And we then move on to item number 2, which is approval of constable salary. I heard there was some discussion between legal and regular, so.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, Board of Supervisors. I'm Art Cordias. I am currently the Chief Deputy with Yuma County Precinct 1. I have placed myself on my name has been placed on the ballot for the upcoming election. And as presented to you in the letter via County Administrator Thorpe, I'm requesting that the starting wage for the upcoming Constable Precinct 1 be adjusted above the starting rate for a newly elected constable. The last time that wage was used was approximately 18 years ago when our sitting constable, John Nozar, started on that wage. I know that that this is an awkward time for asking, but once the election is done, there isn't another option to negotiate or to have this idea entertained. As stated in the letter, I bring with me nearly 35 years of law enforcement experience. The last 6 years as the Chief Deputy Constable. I was hired on as a Deputy Constable, and for the last 6 years have been his Chief Deputy. With the support of the current staff and the Standing Constable, the transition should be seamless. The ideals and morals and values that John exhibits through his course are the same ones that I've done, that I have, and then John and I have actually worked with each other well over 30 years. Both of us coming from the police department, and I was fortunate enough to be hired by John in 87 or in 2007.
So you've had 15 years experience?
15 years experience as Deputy Constable, and the last 6 as Chief Deputy, and then 20 years with the police department.
Hold on. Are you done?
I was just going to say that we in Yuma County are very, very fortunate, I believe. The Deputy Constable has to be, by statute, has to be a certified peace officer. The Constable does not, and by his election is granted limited law enforcement certification. John has maintained his certification throughout, so we are both fully certified peace officers. That will continue, assuming that I don't get beat by Mickey Mouse in a write-in, as I'm running as of now unopposed. But that will continue on because the next person that I hire as a deputy constable will in fact have to be a certified peace officer. So.
The question?
Yes. How is this wage determination set, Mr. Chairman?
I think it's a statute. There's a statute in that presentation that basically.
Who is doing the negotiations?
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's basically called negotiations because you normally don't negotiate.
Who extended the offer?
What offer to whom?
We did.
We're setting
We
the
did
salary
not.
for the next
So
one elected.
we notified the constable's office that by past practice and policy that the staff recommended the minimum, but Mr. Radius sent a letter requesting something higher than the minimum, and the board does set the salary.
what
So
did
there's
you-
no negotiation. It's
kind of like.
it's up to the board
They give us a
completely.
recommendation, we set, and we need to, and that's why I wanted to ask a few questions from Mr. Casillas, if I could. Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz.
Yes.
What was your what was your ask?
What was I asking? I was asking 52.
52. Okay. So the minimum we could set it as a 48,294. Have you achieved that pay now as a deputy?
My pay now is, as we figured it out, would be 12. It's about 12%. My pay now is 12% beneath the minimum. Okay. With the upcoming 5% that's coming in July, that's going to shrink that even further. So from.
Yeah, because you don't get it, because you're an elected.
And that's the reason that the awkwardness is here, is because I don't have an opportunity.
Yeah, later on. We said it before the election.
They have to set it before the election.
We said it goes by as a county employee. So whatever increases we give a county employees go to the constable itself. No, they don't. We said it every year.
No, it doesn't go to the constable.
No, the constable can't.
The
make more than
constable's,
Deputy constables then
the
do it.
constable's salary is set every 4 years by the Board of Supervisors.
But we
If
said-
there's a request by the constable to change. So in this case, there's a new constable, so you set whatever that salary is going to be within the parameters of the state statute. The next time, and the constable does not receive any increases that are available to county employees because it's statutory office. The next time that there's a possibility for an increase, the constable would have to request an increase of the
Yeah, I
budget
think I was a little
process in
confused. I
4
thought
years.
deputy, everybody that's below the elected.
4 years, if the constable asks and if the board approves.
Chairman Reyes, you are correct in the fact that as a deputy constable, I'm a county employee, not an elected. And so therefore.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird one. Most of the salaries for elected are set by the legislature. We
Yes.
don't. This is one of the few that we do.
It is-
We don't set our own salary. We don't set almost any elected one other than the constable, and the judges are set by a certain amount of, I don't remember what they're called, but they're units or something.
Mr. Chairman, are you responsible to the county administration, or who are you responsible to?
Standing now,
No, in this new position.
in the elected position, I am subject to the voters.
Do you work with county attorney, the courts?
I work primarily, or the office works primarily with Justice Court. We work with the Yuma County the county attorneys. We work with the public when they come with eviction actions, with the writs that go along with that.
I think what Supervisor Lyons is trying to get to is that, his feeling is that the salary should be sort of like a judge's salary, a little bit. And it is like that, a little bit. We set the judge's salary, but really we do it under the recommendation of the justice.
Right.
The state local justice department, not justice department, but court system. So let's not make this any more awkward than it has to be. All we're doing is setting down the salary for the next JP. Whomever
exactly.
that may be, and the reason that you're here is because
We're talking about a minimal salary that has not been adjusted in over 18
get it.
years.
And so I just wanted to know if legal has anything to do with this. Is there any part of the negotiation where you guys step in?
We do not.
You do not,
It's
right?
purely statutory. and
It's fully
the board's-
statutory and
board's
it has to be
authority.
done by the Board of Supervisors.
Mhm. And it's, read it, you have it right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it
got
is.
the statute.
Yeah, read read it for the public.
In precincts with 16,000 or more registered voters, annual salaries are not less than 48,294, nor more than 67,000.
We're pretty conservative. We
We
do
are.
a little bit more than minimum, but not, we never, almost never hit the top. So $52,000 is not, to me, we're discussing this item, right? We can discuss that, right?
Yes.
Because we're setting the salary, so we can say 48,000, we think it's too little. We can choose any amount between 48 and 67, right? So I
Within-
think,
within those
I think
parameters, yes.
between us, I think the requirement to start at 52 is not a bad requirement. I think it's
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion. We start at 52.
sorry, Lynn, you didn't get
What?
it. Get a little ahead of you.
I want it to be higher,
No,
but
no,
that's
no.
okay.
Right, that's what he requested, I think giving him a little more.
I'm fine with it.
You fine with it? Well, second that motion, somebody.
I'll second it.
All right, there's been a motion and second to set the minimum salary range for the new the new
You say what I
constable
wanted.
at this, is it District 1?
JP1.
JP1? Does it involve,
All of Yuma, huh? All the
Well,
city of
it's Yuma proper, Foothills, South County would be precinct 2, and then
all right, so it's just
East
precinct
County.
1.
They follow the same precincts as the justice courts.
Well, what I'm trying to get to is we're setting this one for this one. Are we setting it for, no, we're not setting the one for the other ones, right?
Just this one.
All right, just this one. All right, so there's been a motion and a second to set the minimum salary at $52,000.
Thank you very much, I appreciate you, and,
And thank you.
Wait,
for
hold on a
what
minute, let me
you do.
vote on it.
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. There may still be some changes here.
I'll
All
wait.
those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it's okay, now you can.
Now I can thank you, well, I appreciate that, and once again, County Administrator Work, I thank you for your service here, and I know I speak for John as well, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Mr. Caladias. And we move on to number 3, which is county administration, again, discussion and action to approve a network operations and maintenance agreements with LO Arizona. I'm still trying to, get that one right. For the county's broadband mile fiber network. Who's taking this on?
Would be. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Today, we have the culmination of a months of negotiation between the county team, our broadband attorneys, and representatives from Allo Arizona LLC for a network operating and maintenance agreement. And I do have a very brief overview of the points, if you'd like me to go through them.
As long as there's a few points, yes.
It looks a little dark on the screen and kind of.
Can you go ahead? You want to
Do we
turn
have
off
a
some lights?
clicker or?
No, nothing done in the dark. I'm just kidding. Wow. It's a big one.
Oh, wow. Okay. So just a few points. We have 3 slides, if you can bear with me. So this network operating and maintenance agreement, we're calling a NOAA, requires Allo to maintain, manage, operate, and market the county's fiber network and be the exclusive provider of wholesale services. And they will operate the network on an open access basis, which is one of the major goals of Yuma County, to provide an incentive to all providers who would like to provide either wholesale or retail last mile service to our customers. So the agreement is for 20 years with an option to renew for up to 2 10-year periods. Next, we have. Oh, I have the clicker. Great. So the cost allocation is a very important component. Allo will pay for all the operating expenses of the network, and they will pay for periodic refreshes of the electronics over the course of the agreement. They will pay the county a revenue share of 40% of qualifying revenues less operating costs. So we have a net 40% revenue but our share will never be less than zero. In other words, we will never pay for operating the network, even if they have a deficit. Again, ALLO can also provide retail services to customers, but their retail services will be provided access to the network in no different terms than other retail providers. So they will not have special treatment, correct. And then network extensions, if the county pays for it, we're going to own the network extensions. If ALLO pays for extensions, they're going to own it. If we have some grant opportunities or we're jointly funding an extension, then we will negotiate the ownership of that extension on a case-by-case basis. And then there's numerous reports, plans, and requirements that will be imposed on ALLO that we have the ability to approve. Is the extent of my overall presentation.
Of course, it's a 40-page agreement, so we do have a lot of details. You do want to go into
Okay, no, I want to ask a few questions. We're going to get past the controversy of the beginning because that was a tough one. Are we done with the legal challenges yet? Are we done?
There is still the WANRAC case. The judge denied their emergency request and their request for an injunction. They say that the remaining components of their case they're going to pursue, but they have not, and it's been several months. The Gila Electronics case was kind of put on hold. Our next hearing will be June 29th, and it was based on waiting to see what happened with our motion to consolidate both cases under one judge. And we just heard that Judge Kenworthy felt like he was not eligible to rule on that because he was noticed, as in other words, Gila Electronics asked not to go before Judge Kenworthy. So because of that, he doesn't feel like he is able to rule on the case to combine the two. So they're still separate. Gila Electronics will have the hearing on June 29th. And because they've not been consolidated, then Gila can proceed, but they have done have taken no steps to meet several required filings and several responses with our own attorney. So it seems like they're not really expending any money or taking any action, so they're just kind of sitting there at this point.
All right. Is legal reviewed this latest agreement for whatever pertains to us here? Are we legally covered in that respect and the respect of the agreement?
Although, as Ms. Thorpe pointed out, it was negotiated by specialty counsel retained by the county in this area. So the terms were negotiated by that law firm. We reviewed the agreement as a whole, but again, the essence of the contract was drafted and negotiated by specialty counsel retained by the county.
So, okay. So where are we with the process of the actual installation of the equipment? Are we proceeding at the regular?
Doc Weininger with ALLO is here. If you'd like him to explain kind of where they are in the process of
shortly,
construction.
just where we are and how much time you expect it will take.
One of the questions on the contract, is the 40% consistent with other operating agreements?
Do we have the broadband attorneys on the phone?
To me, just seemed a little low if we own the network. Is it? Okay. Make me feel better.
Well, actually, it seems to me we're dealing with this almost like a franchise. We do deal with franchises. APS has a franchise for services. Southwest Gas has a franchise, and so does CenturyLink, I think, or not CenturyLink. Spectrum has a franchise with the county. We did get some benefits, not from APS, but we do get some benefits from our setup with Spectrum. I think we did at one particular point in time. We had access to their system, and we could broadcast under the system. I'm sure that we're going to get to it sometime in the future to see where, the benefit's supposed to be to all residents and not necessarily just to the county. So, and the purpose of this was to make broadband available to everybody. I know that the revenue part, as a matter of fact, I was going to sort of get into a situation that gets a little tricky because as a county, we're not supposed to make profits out of anything. So it gets a little dicey for me when we do something that looks business-wise, because we always seem to be in competition with the private sector, which I think in some ways, we're not. And so as long as I have that zero agreement that we're not gonna lose money on it, I feel somewhat comfortable we're protecting the county's residents' interest on this. What we quote make will probably have to go back into the system itself. So in some ways, that's really, to me, the sum of all things is that we need the county residents to be insulated from any losses. And if there's some gains, we need to find a way to put them back into the system. That's the way I look at this. The idea was to get broadband out as quickly as possible. That's why the question was, okay, where are you at? So Bob, can you please step up? Yeah, we're ready. As long as you don't have
No, I don't. I came prepared to answer questions, but I didn't bring any kind of presentation.
Where are we?
So I have Pete Montalvo with me today. Pete is working, he's our area manager for ALLO that we've hired. He's lived in Yuma since the 80s. I think a lot of you know Pete. He will be supervising the construction of the network, not only on the county middle mile, but on our fiber to the premise network that we'll be building in various communities in the county. So Pete will be managing that. We've hired approximately a dozen people so far, supervisor. We will have about 100 people hired eventually in the county to run the various networks and to operate the system, not only the county system, but the other systems. Pete will be delivering the first permit probably today, first construction permit. It came to him on Friday from corporate, and we will be delivering permits to both the county and to the Bureau of Land Reclamation. We'll have permits that we're submitting to them also.
Fire permit?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
Good
when
application.
we're ready to begin construction immediately. Pete can address, I mean, how many materials have we had delivered already to the?
50%.
Yeah.
So we've had 50% of the materials already delivered to the city of Yuma. We have, and within the next 6 months, we'll be up to 100%. And we also have all the equipment will be here, all the major materials will be here within the next 6 months. We'll have it all here on site. And I just want to mention, go ahead, sir.
Oh, you mean the county, right? Because you said the city of Yuma. Now, we take that as fighting.
Yeah, it is. It is for the Yuma County, but the material is, so there's a warehouse that we had to find that could store all the
So
material.
you're talking about location where you store this stuff?
Correct.
Right.
No, that's a good question, sir. I know we
That's
want
the
Yuma County to go through.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
In your presentation, Susan, it said any future mileage or any future
Network extensions?
yes will be owned by ALLO or divided between the two.
It depends on who pays for the extension. If it's a county requested extension and the county pays for it, the county will own that network. If
Yeah.
ALLO decides to extend to a specific location, community, whatever, then that would be ALLO's expense, and then ALLO would own that.
Okay, now what about how much are we going to be able to do? 20 million or the 39?
So right now, we have funded 20.7 million of the network. The entire network is 140 miles. We're doing the north, south, and west sides with the $20.7 million. We have the grant into the Arizona State Broadband Grant Development Program, and we should hear June 30th. That is their scheduled announcement date of who is successful, and we submitted a $10 million grant for that in order to do the eastern piece
To
of the
go
network.
east, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And if they decide, if we don't get it, which is highly unlikely, but they decide to extend it, it would be their
Correct.
backbone.
Correct.
If the money comes through us, it would be ours.
Correct.
That's pretty much technically.
Got it. That's, I just wanted,
make
to
it
put
clear.
it out there. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
continue. Sorry, Mr. Montaño.
I just want to say real quick that we have one job fair, and in one job fair, we had over 100 and something candidates, local employees that came through. I'm the one that's actually interviewing every single one of the candidates, and it's been a pleasure because I didn't think we were going to get this kind of talent, local talent, and inside our small yellow diamond in the desert, as I call it. And so it's been great. I mean, the output has been great, and I'm looking forward to the project. It's one of the reasons it was real difficult for me to leave Yuma County. But I thought that would be my way of leaving another footprint in our community.
You know, we have set aside $400,000 for our own manager of and the cable system. So we would like you to send that list to us.
Yeah, yeah, send that list.
No.
It's truly a
We're gonna have to
community, it's a community, sir. So all I wanted to do is move forward and
Yeah.
be
We
successful.
appreciate it. We really do.
Thank you.
We appreciate the commitment you made to Yuma County, and it's nice to see that you're hiring people from here, that this is having more than just the impact of having the broadband access, but also employing some local people in some jobs that pay more than minimum wage.
Yes, definitely a little more.
Susan,
Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure that the broadband attorneys are on the phone
what for? Attorneys only make it last long.
and can
I'm
speak.
just kidding. I mean that.
Hello, attorneys, are you there?
For any questions?
Nope.
Legal questions?
Yes, this is Sean Stokes, and I believe my partner Jim Ballard is also on. We're both the outside telecom counsel. If we're available for questions.
Great.
Yeah.
Supervisor Lyons had a question about the revenue share. So would you repeat your question?
Is 40% consistent, high or low for revenue share?
In the market, that was a question.
Yeah, sure. This is Sean, and I'll let Jim speak for himself. But I would say it is pretty good. This is recognizing that this is an interesting deal because this is a middle mile network, so we're not talking about end user revenues, because as the chairman was talking about, the goal of this is to sort of expand out the availability of the broadband, obviously, to the end user customers as much as possible. So there was sort of a balancing going on of revenues that come from that, then it is purely on the wholesale part of it. So what we're looking at here is it's 40% of, as Susan indicated, 40% of the net revenues, because they are going to be operating and maintaining the entire network. There's no additional cost for that. So the 40% is on top of, after subtracting out their costs of maintaining that network. I would say it's in the middle to high. Well, it's actually higher than a number of ones we've seen more recently. I don't want to get into other things in other deals specifically where it could be confidential, but as a general matter, I would say it's on the high end. What do you think, Jim?
Mr. Chairman, how is it structured? Sorry.
I think the other attorney was going to comment.
Sorry, is the other attorney going to comment? Are we done?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, sure.
When we have other providers come in for the end users, will we be entering into a separate negotiation with them?
The purpose of the middle mile is to attract and incentivize last mile providers. So we are not going to get any of their revenue, just like we're not getting any retail revenue from Allo. We're only getting it from the connection to the middle mile, because we want to lower the barriers to entry.
Sure.
So the less we charge and the less they have to pay, the more extensive they can make their networks and the more affordable they can provide last mile service to our customers.
Yeah, and ultimately the idea is to make it affordable to the ultimate customer, which is a resident of Yuma County. And the idea is to get it there at a more affordable cost at the end. And that's the purpose. It's not to make money. It's not to compete or get into the private sector. It's basically to incentivize those end providers to get there. And if the end provider ends up being the cheapest one, ends up being Hello, I have no problem with that. If it ends up being Hila or any other provider, then that's fine too, as long as the customer gets a good deal off of it.
Amen.
And Mr. Chairman, you did say that the reason for getting some net revenue is to reinvest in the system, to be able to fund capital projects as needed, and also do the extensions as matches to grant funds or independently. So that is the way to perpetuate the success and sustainability of this utility.
And I think that the purpose of today's meeting is just to make it clear that everybody will have the same opportunity to basically buy into the backbone system.
Yes,
and
sir.
that means Halo and everybody else would have the same playing field. It would cost the same for Halo to check in or connect in as it would any other provider in Yuma County that's willing to pay the cost. And we're talking cost. I mean, it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be appropriate or in any way advantageous for Halo to hook up more than it would be anyone else. It's just simply that you know the system probably better than anyone else, and that's just a matter of why it happens or how it happens.
If I could address that real quick, that's been our experience. We have approximately 115,000 customers, but our fifth largest customer is actually a wireless provider that we technically compete with, but serves the Nebraska Panhandle, eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, using our system. So it's certainly something, a model that we've worked with, and one of our largest customers also is a wireless carrier that uses our system.
I sure hope so.
The reason I brought that question up is because Verizon and some of the other providers are renting into the system that's owned in the Gilbert area and some of the other Phoenix areas. So I was just wondering what that model might look like.
Okay. There will be. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the item as presented.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been motion and second to approve a network operations maintenance agreement with Hello Arizona LLC for the county's broadband middle mile fiber network. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Again, this is all obviously predicated on legal proceeding along the lines. All right, got it. Thank you. The last item. The next item is the county administration discussion and action to approve the recommendation from the selection and recruitment committee to appoint county administrator candidate Ian McGuffey for the position. Wait. One at a time, because it all sounds different. McGahey. All right. Well, Ian, as for the position of Yuma County Administrator, and to arrange for negotiations to begin discussions regarding contract and salary negotiations with the candidate. Felicia, we've gone through a long and lengthy process, which is supposedly, well, not supposedly, will culminate today with an appointment of a replacement.
Yes.
It'll be big shoes to fill, but it's a replacement candidate for the position of County Administrator. So the floor is yours.
So Chairman Reyes, members of the board, I do want to thank the committee that was actively involved in the recommendation that is presented to you today. Those members, just as a reminder, were Supervisor Pancrazy, Supervisor Simmons. We had Kathy Shaven from Superior Court. We also had Diana Gomez, also present in the committee as well. And oh my goodness, Robin Paquette, Robin Stallworth Paquette from the recorder's office. And so they've met with both of the candidates. We do appreciate both of them in their presence and had spoken to them. And as it's presented to you today, the committee is recommending Ian McGahey as our county administrator. Now, what we would be asking, as you would see, is if you agree with that recommendation, that is part A. And then there is a part B to that same presentation to you here in front of you on the agenda item, and that would be where the board would then ask for assistance through the negotiation of the contract. Human Resources is not able to do that because I report to the county administrator.
Yeah. Well, Felicia, thank you very much. And I do want to thank the committee for going through the process and Ian for his patience going through the process. There seems to be a sort of finality when you put in a county assistant administrator that the assistant will end up taking the administrative position eventually. That is an assumption, and that is something that I think is wisely done, better done when you go through a process, a selection process. I know that some of us were inclined to immediately appoint a county manager because we do have an assistant county manager, and we worked long and hard, and Susan worked hard to be able to make sure that when she left, the position would be taken by someone the interim position would be taken by someone that could handle it. Ian, you've done an excellent job, and I'm really happy that it ended up being this way because I expected it to end up this way. Didn't mean we didn't have to go through the process. I want to thank the members of the board. Thanks everybody for their patience. The timing is impeccable. Well, maybe it could have been done like a meeting before, but for the negotiating part, I think that would be better left to the board, the supervisors. So we would make a motion to approve the committee's recommendation, and then I think technically appoint or simply have the board of supervisors meet with the administrator and go through the process of negotiating a salary. You had some things you were making, you know that you're like, so,
Yes.
So just
Short time. So just as a point of reference, when I was hired. I worked with the county attorney's office to negotiate the contract, who was kind of the go-between between the board of supervisors and the county attorney or county administrator.
Yeah, no, everything has to be done, through the legal process. I mean, we have to do, if, for example, we're to discuss salary, we obviously need to post it and have a discussion regarding salary. I try, and I know that most supervisors here would try, again, to be as open as possible with the process, with the amounts, just like we did with the constable, that, people should know that there's an amount of responsibility that the board of supervisors has to take seriously when they talk about salary and what the initial salary would be. What we like from human resources is background stuff. How much she was making, how much he's going to make now because it's going to be interim, and then how much did Susan make when she started. And I like some comparisons about similar jobs, in administration in similar places, and that's what I like to have. I think it's much better than just a situation where you just pick a number and negotiate. Just have a sense. I want Ian to know that we appreciate his service and that we appreciate, and also he knows that he has had an opportunity to serve under a very capable administrator, and that is also priceless. And in certain ways, it allows him to get the experience before he has to deal with the actual problems. I think it's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a win for the county, and it's a win for Ian that he's gotten himself into a position where, I don't know if anybody can question anything, but I think this process, it's the way it should be done, and it's the way it needs to be done to make sure that everybody knows isn't just an idea that we got and we decided to go ahead with it. Again, I'd like to thank Human Resources for doing that, legal for standing by and making sure, and I'm sure they're going to make sure that the next contract meets all the guidelines and all the requirements that statute requires and legal requires. So I'll entertain a motion to make to accept the recommendation, and then I'll set something in motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion we accept recommendation A and B.
Okay, B, it's going to be a little more descriptive, but is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the recommendation of the committee, both in appointing Ian as the county administrator, and second, giving us an opportunity to negotiate with him salaries relatively soon.
Do we want to give him a chance to back out at the last minute, or?
No, once we appoint him, he can talk, but before that, I wouldn't give him a chance. And again, I'd like to particularly thank Susan. I know we have an item in the agenda to do that, but I'd like to particularly thank her for being able to do that, because for a while there we struggled with getting somebody appointed to that position, and she, we struggled. We just didn't, somehow that things didn't match, and I'm sure that it took a little bit of Ian and a lot of Susan to get to a point where we could actually make this decision and feel good about it. So thank you very much, Susan. There's been a motion, a second, to approve the recommendation as presented. Is there any more discussion on the item? Not all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Felicia. Up, Ian, you got to say something. This is the only, I think it's a little late to back off because it's too late, but congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Ian McGahey, I guess interim county administrator now. I do want to thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very excited about the opportunity. From my first day serving as deputy county administrator, I was tremendously impressed by the quality of the employees in the organization in my role. For the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity not only to visit and meet with every department, division, and office, but to work with them on some projects, one way or another. And as you mentioned, and it's so true, Susan has really just been tremendously helpful in the transition and the preparation, not only in the last couple of weeks, but throughout the whole 2 years, from not only having my 9 direct reports and the special projects and initiatives that she's assigned to me, but also bringing me in on a number of regular group meetings and initiatives, and just keeping me up to date to make sure that this transition is positive and successful in every way. So thank you again. I intend to work to the best of my ability to serve our residents, businesses, and visitors. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
One question. When do we begin the process of finding your replacement?
I would imagine as soon as we're official.
It is official now, so. All right. Ian, thank you and welcome again. I mean, this is the second time we give you a welcome. I am very, very happy that the process took place and it ended up with this result. I couldn't be happier. Thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you as a new county administrator.
Thank
You have some big shoes to fill. Not saying you have big feet, Susan.
You have, you're not gonna be able to fill those shoes because they're like, like spiky heels or something. All right, so that takes care of that item. We'll move on to the next item, which is, and thank you, Diana, because I know you got up, and I was wondering why the court people were here and stuff, why they're members of that committee, so thank you, thank everybody for their time. The next item is county administration discussion possible action regarding state and federal legislative updates, which may include international issues, the status of the bills impacting Yuma County, timelines and composition of the legislature, the redistricting and legislative strategies and priorities. Are we dealing with redistricting still? Yeah, it's a question.
Mr. Chairman, Alejandro
Just in
Figueroa, Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. I'm introducing myself because I was asked to do it last time, making sure I do it this time. No, we are not, Mr. Chairman. I think we are done with that process. Just in case anything happens, we might want to consider keeping it on the item.
Thank you.
Why don't we change it to census stuff? So you can open up the census thing later on and we'd be able to discuss it here. Well, we are going to, at some particular time, talk about the census. So you just, so we can replace it with something. Right, go ahead.
Alrighty, so after 148 days, 8 days in session, here's where we are. The legislature ended last week after completing their work on Wednesday and adjourned until today. In addition to limited conversations between leadership and the governor's office on a budget framework, the debate on how to proceed with water policy is ongoing. As you know, there is discussion on the creation of the Arizona Water Authority, but also a push from Senate leadership to expand collaboration and authority of existing water authorities. Furthermore, education spending is an area of focus, with some members wanting to limit increases and others seeking to invest $1 billion in new school spending and expanding the school vouchers program. The governor vetoed HB 2617, which is the voter registration cancellation and causes bill this week, which is his first veto of the session. In his veto letter, the governor noted that the bill fell short in a number of areas due to vague provisions that lack guidance on determining when a person is not a qualified elector, but noted some of the provisions in the bill were sound like requiring ADOT to notify the Secretary of State when a registered voter receives an out-of-state license. While it was a short week for the legislature, they did take action on a number of bills, including sending some election bills to the governor. SB 1170, which outlines requirements for the Arizona Game and Fish Department to set up voter registration and provides the ability to transfer big game permits to a minor whose parent has passed away. SB 1460, election law amendments. The bill was modified in the House to remove the expansion of the allowing online candidate nomination petition signature gathering for any Arizona candidate and reinserted the current timeframes for writing candidates to file nomination papers. As far as a state wildfire update, we're on state 2. Fire restrictions have been put in place on all state trust land in Arizona, with the exception of areas of north of the Grand Canyon in Coconino County. Moving on to the federal level, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas authorized U.S. Customs and Border Protection to move forward projects in the San Diego, El Centro, Yuma, El Paso, and Rio Grande Valley sectors to address life, safety, environmental, or other remediation requirements in accordance with the department's plan for the use of border barrier funds. Work to close a gap in the Yuma sector that remains as a result of previous border barrier construction activities and poses a life and safety risk to agents and the community is expected to begin in the near future. Lastly, on the international front, preliminary results show Mexico's ruling party won 4 of 6 state elections held yesterday against a coalition made up of the country's 3 main opposition parties. Mexican President López Obrador's party will now govern 22 out of the 32 states in Mexico. Also related to Mexico's president, today he announced that he will not be attending a U.S.-hosted summit of the Americas due to exclusion of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. He will instead have his Minister of Foreign Affairs attend the summit on his behalf. He also noted that he would visit the White House next month to discuss the inclusion of all leaders from the Americas with President Biden. Moving on to a much more positive note, additionally, on May 26, I met with the state of Baja California Undersecretary for the Economy and Innovation to explore collaboration opportunities that may enhance our commercial and institutional relationship. We agreed to start working on an agenda for a potential visit from Baja California's governor and other state officials to Yuma County in the coming months. That will be my report today, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
All right. Any questions? If not, I do, I did mention the census, and I mentioned it because places like Somerton are going to start, or already started the process of challenging some of the results based on whatever is challengeable. I don't know if that means that we won't do a mid-decade census. I don't know whether doing a mid-decade census is even a possibility. I don't know how much it would cost. I'd like to get some idea of what it would cost. I think some of these entities are not particularly seeing the big picture, which is you will have to wait until 2031 to have some of these things change. And although the state may not follow that, the federal government will. They will be forced to acknowledge that those are the population counts. And Somerton and most of the smaller communities, including Yuma County, by the way, were impacted very negatively by this. Not that we were the only ones, but some places came out better than others. I think San Luis came out better than Somerton and most of the other communities, but I mean, some of these communities, especially the outer lane areas communities, really got hit hard by this and will be hit hard for 10 years if they don't challenge that anytime earlier. Anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask Alejandro, just kind of put this on your future things for the next session, and Ian too. We've got to do something as far as getting a little more control over our issues here in the county, especially with ADEQ. What we need to look at as far as checking with the other counties and finding out if they're having the same issues we are in dealing with issues locally. But
like
this
the poop and the air.
the poop, air quality. I mean, we have a lot of no control over what's going on, and we need to have control. We need to be able to address these issues when they come up instead of having to rely on the state to come down and try to catch it when it's happening.
It would take, Supervisor Simmons and Supervisor Pancras, it would take legislative changes.
Yes, it would.
That's what I'm saying, though. We need to.
And we need to start on them now.
And we need to know now what is it that we need to
Yes.
focus on, because for those who are listening to us for the first time, and this is addressing an issue that I'm sure a lot of us would understand, especially those of us who have served in the city council or as mayor. This is a very statute-driven organization. If it isn't in the statute, you're not allowed to do it. It has to be statutory. So to us, to veer off and try to do something would create problems. And this issue needs to be addressed by the legislature. As much as they talk about, ceding control over to the counties, they never actually do that.
Well,
they actually take more control.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, the rock quarry issue out in the North Foothills.
Mr. Chairman?
Has really brought it.
We're not going to discuss anything specific. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's one example.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
They'd like to come after us for PM10, but we can't do anything to try to correct our PM10.
Yeah, we're steering it as close as we can to whatever we want to discuss next time. It's just we're giving direction.
Put that on the future agenda, Mr. Chairman?
I would like to not put that in the future agenda. So let's move on. Thank you, Alejandro. That was a very good report. We messed it up at the end, but that was a very good report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, one question before
Sure.
you leave. There was this is legislative action. There was in the bill, in the final budget, was there anything to the San Luis Highway 95 issue?
They're still deciding on that. They're still working on that. Right. The framework of the
Mr.
budget.
Chairman, they're still making the sausage.
Okay, all right. Well, let me know when the sausage is done.
Will do.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Thank you very much. The next item is recognition of County Administrator Susan Toll's retirement from Yuma County effective June 7, 2022. And I want to thank, first of all, the board members because it was because of them that, the decision isn't made by the chairman. The decision to have a county administrator is made by the board in general. And the board has, in their wisdom, decided to allow, Susan to take care of the issues that we had here. There's always a lot of good and a little bit of bad in everything. I can tell you right now that the good overpowered the bad by far to me. And that during the time you've been an administrator, during the time I've been here as a supervisor, it's always been, not always, I shouldn't say, most of the time it's been a pleasure to deal with issues with you. You have a degree of professionalism that sometimes, borders on, you just have your ways set. But your ways were pretty good to Yuma County. And that's always a measurement that I would use all the time. Is it better now than it was before? And I can unequivocally say that to me, it was. And we want to acknowledge your work and dedication and forget the little things that we didn't agree on and focus today on having you go in the best tone possible. With thanks from all of us, that was an idea that was brought up by Desiree. It is a very large thing that we're going to give you, recognition thing that we're going to give you. So we'd like you to step up. Any board member want to say anything, or does that cover everything? All right, so come up, please, Susan, and I want to let the residents of Yuma County that we're going to miss her for the right reasons. We're going to miss you for the right reasons. I'm sure you're going to be available to us. Ian is going to have to make that decision, but as far as I'm concerned, let me.
You gonna say something first, or do we take a picture?
We're gonna take a picture.
And
So
then she
she can take this before she says anything.
Okay.
We'll roast you this afternoon.
It says, thank you for 38 years of dedicated public service across Texas, California, and Arizona. You improved 9 local governments organizations through your exceptional leadership, integrity, and commitment. You motivated and empowered many employees who will be forever grateful for what you have taught them. We all wish you the best in your retirement, and it contains a seal of every place you've been. So you can put this on your wall, and in case you seem to forget, it may fall and remind you.
Oh, I'm in here.
You wanna
Boy,
back-
girl,
you wanna
boy,
back-
girl.
you wanna balance it out?
Boy,
Hold
girl,
it
boy,
up.
girl. I'm holding it.
Hold it up a little higher.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful. That is just gorgeous.
That was a combined idea. I wanted a rock, but wanted a big, huge rock you couldn't move, but Desiree convinced me this was the best way to go. She actually got all those steals, and
I did not do that. It was Martin Garcia.
Martin Garcia did. But it was, do you like it?
Oh my
We can
gosh,
take
that
it
is
back.
gorgeous. Yes, thank you. 38 years, it's hard to even imagine. So,
Oh, no, I can imagine.
even especially the 6 years here has flown by. I truly learn something new every day. That's what I love about this organization. And every time I learn something from someplace else, I appreciate how much we have here and how well we work together and what professionals we have, from the board of supervisors to all the elected officials, to all the directors who I've had a chance to either hire or promote in some way. That's been very gratifying to me. And then just all the employees, especially in county administration, who are so dedicated, and they do their jobs so well and so diligently. It just runs very smoothly. So
Make sure John Phipps sees it every chance he goes by there. He lives next to John Phipps.
I will
It's
do
tough to
that.
live next to
I will
John
do
Phipps,
that.
but-
So thank you. And I look forward to the opportunity this afternoon with the kind of come and go informal reception to see people that I might not see in the future because I won't be in this position. So I do appreciate it. And thank you for your support and your guidance over the years. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Susan, again. And there are very few times you get a chance to do this, to acknowledge and show some gratitude for a job well done. And I know we always have people who don't think we're the best, but even if you're not a gold coin, you can't be. And your position is tough. Some of the decisions were tough decisions. I know that you struggled through them, and I know personally that some of those decisions were very tough on you, and they come with the job title. And Ian, just as long as you do the right thing, you're going to end up just like Susan, retiring with your head held high. And I wish you the best. We wish you the best. I hope that everything you want, in whatever's left of your time in there, you enjoy them as much as.
I plan on having a lot of fun.
Well, you're having a lot of fun right now, so I
Yep,
don't
I
suppose
am.
that's going to change much. So thank you very much, Susan, really.
Oh, you want to say something? Oh, you said something.
No, you want to say something? Oh, you want to say something? Does anybody want to say anything?
No.
Okay,
Thank
well
you for
then.
getting Aloe organized. So
It was a
that
tough
is
one.
your baby. Mhm.
Thank you. I think we stay within the parameters of the presentation, and so we now go to event calendar, current events. Board members of the county administrator will report on events attended or attended on behalf of the county, may present a brief summary of current events and update the schedule for future board of supervisor meetings as appropriate. No legal action will be taken. Which administrator is going to do the presentation? I'm just kidding. It would be. So we start with Lynn.
On what their events were, huh?
Go
Okay.
five. Lynn, you go first.
Okay. I attended the BNC Colonia Neighborhood Community Forum. I was on the selection committee for the recruitment of a county administrator, and I attended those meetings and the interviews. I attended the 4th Annual Yuma County Forum on Resilient Communities and Sustainable Health Equity. I met with Senator Mark Kelly and spent the day going around Yuma with him on issues like closing up the gaps in the border wall and other things like that. I attended the U of A Growing Your Own initiative, which was an all-day event that was very, very productive. I attended the chamber mixer, and then I attended the CSA Executive Board meeting and the CSA Board of Directors meeting. I attended the Chamber Transportation meeting and the YMPO meeting. Attended the Memorial Day services at the Quachans, at the Ocean to Ocean Bridge, and at Desert Lawn. And I want to thank our BFWs and all of those folks that put that together. They were very, very, very good this year, and I appreciate all those who have given the ultimate price for our country. Freedom is not free. I attended YPICS. It's called YPICS. Now it's called Arizona at Work. They have monthly provider meetings, and there's 5 providers. And for the first time, I was able to attend all 5. Usually I have other things that I can only attend a few of them, but I attended all 5, and they are so very interesting. I met with Susan. I attended the Yuma 50 meeting, and I went to the emergency training out at Public Works with Tony, and found out how you put it all down and get it all together, and the websites and all that kind of stuff. It was very good. So I appreciate that, Tony. That's it.
Supervisor Lyons?
Had an Amberley's Place board meeting. Then I met with Amanda Aguirre to coordinate some of the work done with some of the first responders and the NGOs. Received an additional load of food at the food bank to distribute to our partners here in the community that are dealing specifically with some of the migrant challenges and the illegals coming across the border. Had an Arizona-Mexico Commission board meeting, and then attended the CSA board meeting in person. Had a number of meetings, met with Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly, and then met with the several directors of state agencies to coordinate work on behalf of the governor, Department of Land, Lisa, Andy Tobin, Department of Corrections, and then had follow-up phone calls with the governor's office on a daily basis to coordinate some of the work that we're doing along the border. Had a short conversation with the governor regarding our challenges here on the border. And a number of other, I met with Andy Biggs here in Yuma. He was putting together a meeting regarding the water after I spoke with Rep. Dunn and Rep. Osborne and Senator Kerr to talk about federal assistance and anything that the feds might bring to the table. And that was on the heels of water restrictions from Welton Mohawk being implemented. And the fact that we are in a severe drought, and they're planning for that contingency, and they were able to self-police and make sure that they're able to have water sufficient for the produce season. It's a particular challenge right now just because they were getting ready to plant a significant amount of wheat, etc. So those were some of the meetings that I had.
A lot of the
Yeah.
seed crops are taking.
I don't know,
hit.
I got tired listening to you, but.
I know.
Mr. Simmons?
A lot of the seed crops are
Thank
taking
you for all
hits
this federal
with
and
this.
state meetings.
So anyway, attended a community meeting at IC Church as well. County administrator review. Been talking with Craig at DDS, reference a variety of issues. Held Foothills community meeting. Was award presenter at Mohawk Valley School graduation. Was the guest speaker at the first detention academy to graduate at AWC.
Oh, cool.
Attended the YPG change of command for the test directorate.
Thank you.
Had a meeting with Penny Pugh, reference an ongoing issue out in the foothills, trying to work with Postal Service on. I want to thank Shirley and her group for coming down today and voicing their concerns. I know this has been an ongoing issue. Craig is aware of it, so is George. I know ADQ was out last week, and they have started a case against the quarry because they were in violation, which they were able to determine at the time they started doing that. And let's see here. Also, I want everybody to remember that 78 years ago today, the largest amphibious assault in history was occurring, D-Day. So think of all of our veterans. There's not a lot of World War II veterans left. I can say I've had the privilege of knowing several, and they are a very special group. So that's all I have.
You know, I hate to bring an end to this bunch of presentations by saying I was out of the country. I was on vacation, a long planned family vacation, I may say. For those who may be interested in knowing, I live in San Luis, Arizona, so I leave the country maybe 4 or 5 times a week, but that's irrelevant a little bit, I guess, technically speaking. So my report is concluding with that. Yours, Susan, your last report?
Yes, most of the last many months, and especially the last couple of weeks, were spent in intense meetings with ALLO as well as with our county team separately on the negotiation of the operating and maintenance agreement. So thank you for your leadership throughout the broadband project. And I think that's going to make life much better for all residents in Yuma County, and that's thanks to the county. I attended the U of A Growing Our Own Symposium. We attended the Colonia, BNC Colonia Forum. And I think there's some great follow-up ideas that we've gotten from the comments that we received there. Ian and Alejandro and I have a regular meeting with the Chamber of Commerce director, and so we met a couple weeks ago. I attended the YSIFTA board meeting. We participated on the interview committee for the public defender candidates, and you'll be getting a recommendation at the next board meeting. We met with APS regarding their fiber assets in Yuma County. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Susan. And again, enjoy your retirement. Enjoy what you do. Thank you very much.
This afternoon.
We'll see you this afternoon. Anybody else, anything? I will close the open to the public and close the meeting for this morning. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience.